Okay, welcome everyone to the Women's Business Center at Jedi. This is our monthly webinar. We have a series of webinars that we've put together for you in Northern California. Some of you live out of the area, which is great. We welcome you all because we are in the business of helping people grow businesses. We're here where potential creates prosperity. I'm Joy Taylor. I'm your host, and today our webinar is all about solid steps to increase your visibility. As a business owner, who doesn't want visibility, right? That's what we want. The number one thing that we get at our Women's Business Center is, how do more people find out about me? And our guest today is going to support us and empower us and really equip us in developing lasting relationships in your particular industry so that you have more impact in your network. Sound good? Sounds good to me. I'm really pleased and happy you're all here. So the webinar, next slide, is brought to you by the Women's Business Center at Jedi. We are in Northern California, and like I said, we're where potential becomes prosperity. We are a nonprofit. We are funded in part by the SBA as well as other state organizations, government, and industry that believes in economic viability and growth. And so what we're able to do is support you with webinars like this, live, in-person trainings, as well as one-on-one business consulting and coaching. We do tax prep, business planning, loan applications, and even advanced business development. So if you're interested, our telephone number is up there. And at the end of the webinar, I'll share more about some of our upcoming events in Redding, Mount Shasta, and online. All right, how to get the most out of the webinar. Like I said before, down below, there's a feature and it's called chat. So we're going to cue you to chat. We're also going to cue you to raise your hand or ask questions. I'm going to be your facilitator. Our guest today is really lovely because she loves to interact with people. She is a coach by nature, and so I'm hoping that you come forth with your questions as well. All right, so I'm ready to introduce you if you want to give me that beautiful photo of you.
There you go.
There you are. Okay. Our guest today is Sarah Du Whitsett. Now, she is the co-founder of Los Peregrinas, which is an amazing group of women who support business owners, almost like an advisory council and a 360 view of how to develop and grow your business. Sarah sees how the parts of a business move together as a whole, which means she's very holistic in her thinking. She's also very strategic. She helps people organize their ideas into sequential plans of action. She's a former intensive care nurse. What does that tell you about Sarah? I'm going to ask you that question at the end. What you learned in intensive care, because I know that is on the spot, quick thinking.
It is fast.
Yes, it is fast and it takes focus. And she had a successful career in health prior to starting her own business. She started a business as a coach. Now, for those of you who are coaches or consultants, you're going to go, wow, in a moment, because she built her practice to more than $150,000 annual gross revenue while having 3 kids under 5. Working only 20 hours a week. Interesting, pretty cool. I think I want to learn from her. I know you do too. So disenchanted with the online coaching game, Sarah then built a profitable business selling real estate. And we know that real estate is all about relationships, right? There's a lot of in-person stuff. She's the publisher of The Brick Magazine, a lifestyle publication, which we're going to hear about because she's in the middle of a photo shoot. And she's based near Ann Arbor, Michigan. So Sarah, welcome. We already have a wow in the chat.
Oh, thanks, Joy. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to scoot these slides along. I'm super excited. So for all of you here, again, as Joy said, I'm very conversational. So I'm going to kind of lay out just the way I think about it for pretty much everybody I meet. And I get a lot of questions about how do you get your name out there? It's very common. And so what I'm going to do is kind of walk through the basic principles of, what I recommend pretty much for everybody as they're getting started. They are principles I use every single day with all of my businesses. And then I'd love to open it up to answer some questions for people who would like to get some actual coaching on their particular situation. I'd love to do that. So having said that, let's get going so we have time. What we're going to discuss is really how to develop those lasting relationships in your industry. You'll leave with a simple plan you can implement to start having more impact in your network. So you're not going to leave and just be like, well, that was great. But you'll actually have some steps and some targets to hit so that you can start to implement these ideas as you go forward. We're going to be talking about developing allies, how to network on digital platforms. It can be done, but really it's about fostering one-on-one relationships. And then also we're going to talk about developing a system for media outreach, which is also something that we can do too, and is well in our control. So first thing I always talk about, people say, well, where do I start? I have my business. I feel like I'm swimming in this ocean and nobody sees me is that question that always comes up. And they say, how do I start to really become someone that stands out in this sea of people? And what I always say is, it's about relationships. And I know people say this constantly. But what I always find is people tend to lean towards online. So they'll say, well, I am reaching out to people. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm doing webinars. And I would say that's fantastic. And that is not your first line of defense. That is like, I always picture it as like you're building a cake. And so the bottom layer has to be really big and solid before you can start adding more layers. And that bottom cake is the one-on-one relationships, because the opportunities for online will build on that. The people you meet and develop relationships with at this beginning part and one-on-one are going to push you and show you who to connect with on these online platforms, and you'll have more of an impact. So where do you start? The simple thing is that you just need to go and look at the people who are right in front of you. That is your first step. People sometimes think I'm nuts, but I say, make a list of every single person you know. And I know sometimes, I think there's some MLMs out there who have taken this strategy and they've gone a little sideways with it. But at its core, it does work. But we're going to change it a little bit. So I say, make a list. Think of all the people that you have a good relationship with currently, who maybe you've connected with at a meeting. Write them down. Right? Could be past clients, even if you had a different business before, right? Who worked with you and enjoyed it? Make a list. It may be 50 people. Usually I hear, Sarah, my list is so small and nobody cares. Make it anyway. Do it anyway. And that's where you're going to start. And there's nothing wrong with it. And now I'm not talking about like the plumber that you may have hired. That's not what I'm talking about. People that you have a good relationship with and that you are fond of. And that's what we call a connections list. And this is where you start when you're a little bit at the beginning of the process. Next, we're going to talk about an allies list. And this grows after you've been doing the relationship building a bit longer. So some of you may only have an allies list at this point. The difference between a connection list and an allies list, the connection lists include personal relationships. The ally lists are colleagues. And I know that's not a word that a lot of business owners use when referring to one another, but it's actually, it's something that we need to hold on to, and I use it a lot. So for example, Joy is a colleague of mine because we both run businesses, we interact together, and we help, promote things for each other when that makes sense. So that's a colleague, someone who's got your back. So connection list, allies list, and a lot of time the connection list, as you go through it, they'll move into the allies list, and you'll eventually just have one big list of allies. So first of all, let's review how to do connection calls and how to do that. Make a list of everyone you know and have a good relationship with. You can go through Facebook to jog your memory. You can go through your email. Who have you emailed with that maybe you've forgotten about? I know people think I'm crazy, But the idea is not to keep those. So let's say you found someone that you've been interacting with for years on Facebook. You've never talked to them. We're going to change that. You're going to actually meet them and you're going to talk to them. So I set a goal for myself. I do this daily and weekly now. Set a goal for yourself, maybe 4, that you're actually going to intentionally reach out to and make a connection with. And by connection, I mean a one-on-one conversation. You can either, whatever way you want to reach out initially, you can send them an email, you can actually call them, choose the way that makes sense to you. And the whole point of this is not to call and say, hey, I've got this business, you want to hire me? Or who do you know? That is not what we're doing here. What you're doing is you're just calling to say hello and see what they're doing. You know, maybe you haven't spoken to them a while. You have no idea who they know or what's been going on. I can't tell you how many times I've called just to reach out to somebody I haven't spoken with in years. And I make sure the whole conversation is about them. How are you? What's going on? People love to talk about themselves. They're going to share with you what's going on, and then you can help them. And eventually they're going to ask you, well, what's new with you? And that's your opportunity to just tell them, hey, I run a business and this is what I do. I'm really loving it. And they will then ask you questions because you're not selling, you're just talking and sharing your life with them. And you already have that. So have that conversation and then make sure, and I tell people to track it in a CRM, and then make sure you make a note of what you talked about, follow up again with them in a couple months, right? So these aren't relationships that are made like this. These are relationships that take a long time and they work and they build on each other. So as you go through your connections list, and these include some of the personal folks, you may find that, hey, you know what, this one doesn't really make sense for me to keep connecting with. We just don't have anything common and they don't really know anybody. They're a great person. Then you can take them off. But what you will find is somebody might be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I also have a business and I do this. And maybe we could do a promotion or something together, right? So you will naturally start to find connections that have to do with your business. But you can't do that unless you're nurturing these relationships and really becoming someone they can trust. Once that's happened, you move them to your allies list. And we'll talk about that coming up. So again, set a goal, make your connections list, and then set a goal for a week, whatever feels good to you. But these are actual conversations on the phone, on Zoom, go get coffee, stuff like that. Joy's grinning.
I'm grinning. I was going to say go off screen share for a second. Because I know you have so much to share, but I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, ask.
So this is all making so much sense already. And I mean, I always ask people, how are your current customers and clients finding you? And always they say, oh, it's because I got referred or word of mouth or, you know, often it is referrals, and it's not always customer referrals, it's partner referrals or ally referrals. So can you go off screen share?
I'm trying to, and for the life of me, my mouse is not working, and I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
It's just yelling at me.
Can
you turn off my share?
Yep, possibly.
Do it. Thank you.
Okay, so now here we are. Okay, so I'm listening to you, and I'm like, okay, well, how do what do I do? Do I set up a 20-minute appointment with them and tell them why I want to connect, or do I just spontaneously call them? So without giving us a script, could you just run through a potential email or phone call?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always preface it with this. You're calling to make friends. Like, this is like, remember when we were kids, and we were really good when you're kids to make friends, and then it's a skill we kind of lose as adults, right? It just becomes something that we're not good at anymore. So this is called making friends. So you just call someone, like, so if it's a social media person that maybe you're like, I think she's fantastic, you know, maybe you're chatting all the time on social media, but you've never met them or talked to them, just message in the messenger, just shoot them a little message and say, hey, you know, we've been chatting for the last 2 years on Facebook, and I think you're amazing, and I've been following you, and I love you, and I would just love to actually have a conversation with you. When are you free? That's it. And then same thing, like I found it's not like a big, huge formal email. It's not. For these calls, it's like, hey, I've been thinking about you, would love to chat, let's jump on a call, or let's go grab coffee, when are you free? Like 2 lines. Don't make it complicated. I can't tell you, I'll have people do the same thing and they'll have this big formal email. I'm like, no, absolutely don't. I would ignore that email. Don't send it like that. You are a human being trying to connect with a human being. You're a great person and you're probably super relaxed and fun, or whoever you are. Stay in that energy when you're reaching out to these people.
Okay, another question. So we're making our list, and I know, like, from a strategic standpoint, people are thinking, okay, well, I should find others who serve my audience but offer a different service.
Sure, you can.
And there's something also you said that felt interesting to me, and I kind of live this way, is sometimes you just kind of think of someone and you really like them, and it's more you're drawn to them, and so it's more of an intuitive feeling, and you don't know who they know, but you really kind of have the sense you want to get to know them. So between those two, the intellectual strategy and the intuitive, I kind of want to hang out or know that person.
Yep.
What's your recommendation?
I say yes, and I do. I go down the list and I will pick. I do. I seriously sit and make a list. I'm not kidding with you. And there, you'll look down the list and there'll be names that, like, for me, I feel like a little warmth right here. I'm like, oh, I love her. I like her so much. Like, you have a fond feeling. I always call those people because you never know who they know. You never know what they're doing. And even if it's like nothing comes of it, it's still a great conversation. So you're not losing. Right. And then so my allies, that's more of the strategic bit. I'm like, okay, if I have something in mind, like, who do I know who, if I'm looking for media appearances, who do I know who has a podcast? And then I make a list of all the people I know of podcasts. And then I sit there and I do the same thing. Who feels good for me to reach out to right now? That's how I pick.
So you said up to 4 people a week. So, and these are traditionally about what, half hour to an hour conversation?
Yeah, I book. So we usually book, we call them meet and greets in my world. So these are meet and greets. And I will tell you that between me and my partners, we probably spend about 15 hours a week on these. I'm not kidding. This is the thing that moves our business. Like, we do all the other marketing things, but this is what really drives our leads. It's what drives our ability to be on great podcasts. So yeah, I think we have 30-minute slots and then 45-minute slots, just depending on who it is.
So Sarah, because I know you love to play, I'm going to ask everyone to chat. What business are you in? Do you have a storefront? Are you a business consultant? Are you a health practitioner? Are you a paint contractor? Because go ahead in the chat down below and let us know what business you're in, because what we're going to do is we're going to challenge this idea and see if it applies to every business. All right. Chat, let us know down below. Small business coach and trainer.
Oh, great. That one is, yes, that definitely applies. You should be on the phone all the time, calling people, letting them know what you do. Oh, real estate? Oh, absolutely. I actually just wrote an article about a good friend of mine who has built I don't know, Joy, if you saw this newsletter, it went out a while ago. It's a friend of mine in the real estate business, and she has built a multi-million-dollar real estate business. She's been in business about 20 years. And she has never paid for advertising ever, not once. And it's all referral based doing this. Okay, this is cool. And we will get back to the small business coach because she might have stories to tell if she's boring. Tiny house RV, forever tiny homes. Yep. Absolutely.
Senior move manager and aging consultant.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And so all of these, like, y'all should be scheduling time and networking events. And again, when I say networking events, I use it a little differently than most people do. So sometimes when you think of networking events, you're like, oh, it's those rooms where people come and it's awkward and weird. Sometimes those are appropriate depending on your business and what you do. But networking events are also, think about who your customers are or perfect clients, and you think, okay, where do they hang out? Right? So some people, like I have one of our clients is a grief coach, and her best networking events are local women's, she goes to, what are they called? Like book groups. She goes to book groups. She goes to anywhere where women are congregating and sharing stories or just enjoying themselves. So they have like a makeup night at a couple salons around here. So she always goes to those. Those are her networking groups, right? So think creatively, like picture that person in your mind who your perfect customer is, and then show up in those places. It doesn't have to be a stodgy networking event.
That is a write it down on your notebook moment. Where are your ideal customers and clients spending time? And this is so interesting. Yesterday I was on a call and one of my clients, I asked the question for a group of 6 people who were going through a program together.
Yeah.
How do you find your clients? And one of them who is also kind of in the realm of business consulting, she takes programs. So she's working on her own personal development. And in the process, she's growing professionally and personally and meeting her clients.
Yeah, perfect.
So let's look who else. What did we see here? A well ranch.
Wellness ranch? Oh, very
Life
cool.
skills mentoring, equine assisted therapy activities.
I know somebody who does that. They're in Boulder. They're in Boulder, Colorado. I know someone who does that.
Here's someone who does marketing and content.
Great. Yes, startups. And we have here, I don't know about you, where you guys are, but in Ann Arbor, we actually have a group. It's called LA2M. It's all about marketing in Ann Arbor. These networking, these are ones that I will go to. They are packed. And we have Google here, and sometimes, they'll have people from Google who will get up and talk about different marketing techniques. She goes there. She's a copywriter, and she writes content for small businesses. She loves that room for getting clients because everybody in the room is a small business owner who's trying to grow their marketing. That's why they're in that room. So that's a perfect group for her.
I run an agency that provides mental health services to schools.
Oh, wonderful.
And also do community education trainings in mental health and suicide prevention.
Yes. And I'm curious, are your clients the school districts, or are they the actual students or people in the school? Because that depends on where you go. The schools, yeah. So I have found, and education is a little bit tricky to get into, and you got to find a person who works in the school to become your advocate. The other place that I've had clients who have found success is they start paying attention to the rooms where the administrators show up. So here in Ann Arbor, for example, we have a lot of non-for-profits, and the school administrators, not the principals, but the next level up, they show up in those rooms. And so she shows up in those rooms too. And that's
so that same thing you're saying, where are your clients spending time? And I like what you said about your advocates. That's really a key point. So you're making those relationships. In anyone who's marketing to education or nonprofit, that can sometimes be a slow road. Because sometimes you're building a relationship for a while, people are getting familiar with you, and then they need to actually write a grant and fit you into the grant. So it takes patience.
It absolutely.
And Sarah, I wanted to ask you about that, because this idea of making connections and making friends, not necessarily making a sale.
Right. Very, very different.
In your experience and with working with clients in this whole concept of building your visibility through relationships, what's realistic for the timeline? Is this a quick strategy, or is this a turtle?
It depends. It's funny, like sometimes you'll just catch a win, right? Like early on, but I call this sort of it's that slow moving, strong energy in your business, right? It will be there. So here's the thing, like even if you change businesses, these allies are still with you, right? So this is that like sturdy foundation. Now, if you wanted to talk about like, how do I, short term, how do I get leads in the door and how do I sell more? Like that's a different conversation, right? That's a very marketing, like you've got an offer, great. Let's talk about a marketing strategy for that offer. Very different. What we're talking about here is you and or your company and creating impact in your community. So people actually know your name and they will refer to you, and they will say, like when they're thinking about, a painting contractor, you want to be that first person in their head because you just saw them. And you just had a conversation with, and they know about your kids and your dog and your cat. That's how you want this to happen, right? So it's not like you're fighting against the noise and trying to be like, see me, see me, see me. You're just the first on their list because you actually know and have had a conversation with them and they value you. Different, long game.
And though I like what you said about, there's always room to have like a marketing strategy and
Absolutely.
sale, but as we set up our systems or funnels or make it easy
Yeah.
for people to find us and purchase us, that only enhances our promoters, our word of mouth, our networking, and our referrals.
Yeah.
Afrocentric gift store. Where are you located? Tell us more. Is it online? Or is it an actual storefront? So if you are willing, Galia, to tell us more, that would be great. Rotary, someone said, a great
Yep.
place to meet people. All right. Hey, there's some networking going on in the chat, by the way, folks.
Good.
So, you can chat privately. If you want to put your email, your website in the chat, go for it, because
I was going to say, every single person that is in this group right now should become an ally of everybody here. Like this, I will tell you, groups like this where you're learning, I have to tell you, my best and closest allies are people who I was learning with as I was growing 7 years ago. My business partner, Stella, and I were in the same mastermind together, and she became an ally, and we've stuck together and developed a business together. So everybody who's these kind of groups, you all should be talking to each other and supporting one another. Like, so if you're nervous, call each other. Start there.
Well, so I want to just two things. It's a brick and mortar for the Afrocentric, and it's in Richmond, California. So I want to have you maybe address that in a moment.
Yeah.
But while that's happening, gratitude, great gift store.
Oh, very cool.
I want to encourage everyone, if you want the people on this webinar to reach out to you, the live group, it won't be on the recording, but the live group, and potentially like the bookkeeper, the business consultant,
Absolutely.
The paint contractor and the real estate agent. I mean, hello.
Paint contractor and the real estate agent should be talking. I hope they already know each other.
And then someone saying, Marcia, equine assisted activities would be great for your mental health services. Can I call you? Rock on.
Oh, yay. This makes me so happy.
Okay, let's talk about how does this work for Richmond, California? I've got a storefront.
Yep, absolutely. I would go to they usually have, so every area will have small business meetup groups, right? In here we have one called CirrusNet. I don't know if it's nationwide. There's BNI. BNIs are a little hit and miss, so take your time to decide. Or you can look up on meetup.com and find where people the key is find where people you connect with are spending time. All small business owners get together. They do. There's always a meeting somewhere. Find the one that you can stand, feel connected with. You could start your own. That's always a fun one, because that gives you a reason to call people that maybe you wouldn't reach out to anyway, and start your own where you guys get together once a month. And what you want to do is create allies among all, people in the area, so they can say, oh, you need to go to my friend's store too, because remember, they're in front of customers who are buying all the time, constantly. And then look slightly outwards, like who are my customers and where are they hanging out? Start going, because you know what the best way to sell people on your store is saying, oh, I know the owner. She's so cool. Every time I'm at the at the gym, she's always there at the same time, and we have great conversations. So now I go, and then she's going to tell her friends. So start just being you out there and be really thoughtful. The people who generally come to my store, where are they hanging out? Or who do I want coming to my store? Where are they hanging out? And then go and start talking about it. Take the excitement that you have about what you do, and you can't help but share it with the people in front of you, and they'll be excited too.
I love that. I was just thinking that also just there's a lot of people who are adopting children from different countries in Africa. Yeah. And I just feel like there's even just the whole adoption agency connection. Perfect. And parents of multiracial families are even more sensitive to really being cultural. And so there must be articles to write and people to meet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And find where your customers are, what they're doing, what's important to them, and then write an article for it. Meet the owner of that company and tell her what you do, and she'll be excited about it, or he'll be excited about it because they're passionate about their work too.
Okay, so I want to get back to, I know you had slides, so.
It's okay. This is way more fun than slides.
So you were talking about these connection calls, and you said
Yep.
if we make our list and then we're clear about like our allies and our friends,
Yep.
and we're looking for allies or colleagues, and we're also wanting to spend time where our customers spend time.
Yep.
But now back to these conversations. So I reach out and say, hey, do you want to chat?
Yes.
What is the intention that one should set first here before getting on the phone call or the Zoom? What's the intention?
Yeah, it's a great question. I always say the intention is to get to know this person better. And I will always come prepared. I don't always use it. I'll come prepared with one thing I would like to ask of them, because everybody's polite, right? I start the conversation and it is all about them. I'm like, Joy, what are you doing? How's it going? What are you, tell me what's new in your world. And then eventually they'll ask you, like, what's new with you? And I just tell them quietly and simply, but I'm excited. And then I'll have one ask. I always have that sort of in the back of my mind. It could be, hey, I'm looking for speaking events. It could be, I'm looking for podcasts. It could be, I'm looking for anybody else you know who serves this market that I should know. You can ask people, who do I need to know, right? So I always come sort of in the back of my mind with one of those three, and it will depend on who I'm talking to. And then I'll just simply ask. You'd be amazed how people where you've really like connected with them, that they want to help you, and they can actually introduce you and give you an email introduction to like someone. They're like, oh yeah, I just did a talk at so-and-so. It was fantastic. Let me introduce you to the head of it, right? So much easier.
Wow, this is really profound because people sometimes don't ask. So
Right.
so your intention is to connect and learn about them, but come with an ask. You said media opportunities, which could be like
Yep.
blog posting, articles, podcast,
Yep.
Facebook Lives. You said who might be interested in my services.
Yeah.
Potential partners, other people to connect with, any other asks that would be creative, based on the list we have here today?
Yeah, those are pretty general and everyone can use those. The other thing that I always try to have is a give. And I use that at the beginning of the call. It's sort of one you have to do a little intuitively. So you listen. You are so listening to that person as they're talking. And this give can be anything. It could be, she's talking about, she doesn't like, her doctor. You can be like, oh my God, I love mine. Let me give you the name of this person because they're great, right? It's a give. Or yeah, I have a blog, and she's like, yeah, I'm trying to do guest posts, and then great. Hey, do you want to do a guest post on my blog? Right? So listen. When they're talking, listen and do any kind of give. It can be related to their dog. It could be related to their business if that works. But it shows that you are genuinely trying to be of service, right? And then they're going to intentionally, they'll just want to do it back for you, right? Again, we're making friends. This is how we make friends. And so I give things all the time. One of the reasons I love my magazine is I can give people the opportunity to write for me. I can give opportunity for people to tell their story. I can give, people an opportunity, like if they have a problem, like I know so many people who do so many cool things. I can refer out like a crazy person because I have all of these relationships and because I know their work is great because I've had them for so long. So always come with a give.
Love it.
Or listen for what you could do. Sometimes it's simple, like, oh, you need a babysitter? Let me give you mine. She's great. I'll see if she's free.
So talk a little bit about bridging the gap between just having these natural, organic referral kind of opportunities and actually building in some kind of an affiliate program or a more formal promoter program where, let's say you meet someone who offers something very different to your same audience and is asking for a referral fee. Or talk a little bit about that possibility.
Yeah, so those are really great when they come, and every business owner kind of has their own take on them. And then for those of you who don't know what a affiliate relationship is, basically what that is you have a product or service or whatever, and let's say Joy, for example, says, hey, Sarah, I think my audience would really like your product. I'm going to promote it to my audience, but I'm going to get a 25% take on everything you make from that, right? So that's kind of a general affiliate relationship. Now, every business is different. Some people, they don't do affiliate relationships at all. They just say, hey, I think you're great. I'm going to promote you. You keep your own money. Other people are like, yeah, I only do one of those a year and I require 50%. So you can negotiate how it runs. You can decide whether or not you would like to. You don't have to. And you can decide, what percentage you want to offer somebody. Can be anywhere. I've seen them anywhere from like 5% to like all the way up to 50 is what I've seen in Joy. I'm sure you've seen similar as well. And those are great. Like if those come in, those are super fun. I will tell you our philosophy at Las Peregrinas is that we actually don't do affiliate relationships anymore. And we do it because we want to be promoting things that we actually believe in, and we don't want to have the money involved. So if we're promoting something, money has not exchanged hands, and we do it for the love of it. There's not everybody does that, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's just how we do it.
Beautiful. Hey, I just have to say that something's going on in chat because we've got some networking happening. I love this. Tiana, I'm a home stager and decorator looking to reach real estate agents.
Perfect.
And homeowners preparing to sell their home or just moved in and are needing to decorate. So awesome. The paint contractor, the real estate agent, and the stager. Don't know where you live, but if you're all in Northern California, you could meet in person. And then if not, so Sarah, you said phone. There's obviously Skype and Zoom.
Yep, we do all ours on Zoom. Sometimes if I sometimes call people just totally out of turn, and I'll text them and I'll be like, hey, are you free for a minute? I know it's totally crazy. Nobody does that anymore these days. But I'll just I'll just call people out of turn. I won't even schedule an appointment. I'll be like, hey, I was thinking about you. They're like, what?
Yeah, do you have 10 minutes? Do you have 15 to set the context?
Yeah.
Okay, talk about follow-up. I know that was on your slide.
Oh yeah, follow-up's huge. So you can do all of these wonderful things. However, if you never talk to this person again, nothing's going to happen because they're not going to follow up. You all need to get this into your head and not ever feel bad about it. You will forever be the person who follows up. No one else does it. It is not because they don't like you, and it doesn't mean you had a bad conversation. It's just not the way things work anymore. People don't do it. The culture has changed. We're changing it back. So you're going to be the one that follows up. I keep everyone in the CRM. I know it sounds dorky, but I do. And then so if I talk to anyone, I'll actually set a little reminder in my CRM. Sarah, think about this person again in 3 months. I'll get an email reminder. And actually our team comes every month with a big list of people. Like, Sarah, here are all your follow-ups for the month. Who do you want to reach out to? And then I go through and I say, oh yeah, I haven't talked to her in about 3 months. Yeah, let's get on another call. Or, oh yeah, you know what? I think we had a great chat last time and I know she's busy. I'm just going to send her an email that I'm thinking about her and see if she needs anything. So, CRM, great question. That is a client, what is it? A client relationship manager is a CRM.
So it's a software, but it can be a spreadsheet if you don't want to.
Oh, absolutely. Like when I first started, I used an Excel spreadsheet is what I used. The key is you must remember, you have to set when you spoke to them that first time, and you have to be able to remind yourself to connect with them again in a couple months. And then a couple months after that. And a couple months after that.
This is where I come in because I'm like a big fan of scheduling time in our calendars.
Yes. Man.
To review things. So if it's a monthly review of the CRM, to reach out, set up the next appointments and follow on, or take 2 hours, every other week to just focus on the communications between the connection calls.
Absolutely. It takes time. Like, this is not something that, it seems simple and straightforward, but to really get a rhythm to it and to be consistent with your follow-up and to do it with real intention, it takes time to set up the system and to make sure that you stand by it and keep doing it month after month. It takes time. So put it in your calendar or else it won't happen.
Okay, Sarah, there's so much to share. We really only have about 10, 15 minutes max.
Okay, good.
So what else do you want to share? And then do you want to bring people in to ask questions?
Yeah, well, let's see. So the other thing what do I want to share? There's so much. I will say that and I don't know if I'm generalizing too much, but when I talk about this generally, people are like, yeah, but that's not going to work for me. And I will have to tell you that that's not true. Just try, do it, be methodical about it. And you would be absolutely astounded with how well known you can become in an industry by simply doing this consistently. And then also don't be afraid to reach out to people that maybe feel like a little bit of a reach to you. You're like, I can't, those people would never talk to me, right? If that's going through your head, I would challenge you to say, give it a shot, right? And it can be as simple as, hey, I read your article here. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I have so many questions. I would love to just, here's what I do. I would love to have a conversation with you and just, learn more about you. I have to tell you, people show up for those calls because no one else asks, right? We kind of think it put people on a pedestal. Do it anyway. And don't make it so formal. Reach out like a regular person to a regular person. I've had such great luck with that. I was telling Joy, we're at a photo shoot right now, and everything that has happened, and the person on the cover, she's the wife of an NFL football coach. And so we're featuring her, and that happened just for me reaching out and being like, hi, you don't know me. But I would like to meet you.
That's a good story, and it also explains why you're wearing more makeup than you usually do.
I usually don't look like this, no.
Beautiful. So other stories, what have you seen? Any other success stories about, people making connection calls and then that turns into really revenue for their business?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, sometimes you'll just catch a win. Like, that's why I say use your intuition, because sometimes it knows more than you do. Right. And sometimes you'll be like, I don't know why I feel like I need to reach out to this person. It doesn't make any sense, but I kind of feel like I should. And then you call them, and then lo and behold, they're like, oh my God, my brother needs you right now. He needs to sell his house tomorrow, and he just got transferred, and he's freaking out because he doesn't know, he can't even think about moving right now because he's got to find a new job. Like, things like that can happen, which I see all the time. They're not predictable though, so people don't like it, but it happens a lot. So call people, let them know what you do, like painter, anything. Like, if it's a service, call people, because you never know who they know or who they just spoke to who might need what you do.
All right, Sarah, I am going to ask anyone who has a question to just type in the chat question, and I'm going to take them off of mute and have them interact with you.
Perfect.
So this is your moment. You want to run an idea by Sarah. You want to tell her more about your business and see if she has ideas of who you might reach out to or connect with, or how she does these calls. Or if you have a great story, I know one of you does, where a relationship is turning into more referrals, then we would love for you to join us. And if you're shy, you can type your question in.
Yes.
I'll read it.
Not everybody gets gets camera ready for these.
Yes. So if you want to type a question in, that's an option. And if you want to come off of your mute and interact, we'd love to have you. You can type in a question. Okay. While people are thinking, I am going to launch a poll.
Okay.
All right. While people are writing in their questions, how will you use this information? Oops, wrong poll. Darn it. Let's see if a new one comes up. Oh, you know what? I edited the polls and it didn't go live, so oops. Oh. Let's just chat. You've learned a few things. Why don't we just chat? What's something you got out of this webinar so far? I know there's some networking going on, but what
yes.
did you receive out of the webinar? I know we don't always get this interactive, but it's nice too. It's really nice.
It is. It's so much fun. I dig it. Yeah, I was trying to think, and so
don't be afraid to reach out and plan it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie.
That's a great one.
That's really strong.
And I'll say this, it's the same concept, because I know we thought we would get to it, but about publicity, like, it's actually the exact same. They're just the reaches, right? So with, like, if you want to be featured, be a speaker, or, get an article, it's the same concept. Find out who that person is and reach out directly to them and start a relationship.
Do you want to, well, I'll read these in a moment, but do you want
Yeah.
to talk a little bit more about publicity? Because I know that's a strong suit for you. So
yeah, and so I'll say, because I do have the magazine, so we provide publicity to people in the area, and I will tell you, on the receiving end, I so much appreciate getting not just the like formal pitch, right? I mean, it's fine, but I get really, the things that catch my eye are the people who reach out personally first, and say, hello, I love your magazine, this kind of stuff. And, I'd love to write an article. What's important to you? Right? So we're not just getting blasted with what they think what they want to promote, where they actually take a minute and say, hey, what's important to you? That makes a big deal. That's great for local stuff. National, they don't have enough time for that, but for local things, that's just, again, find out who they are and connect with them, and you'll develop a good relationship with them, and they can just tell you, hey, here's what we want, and then you can do it. And same thing with speaking. Like if you want to get on a stage or a podcast, a lot of the times people will have, like, please apply to be on our podcast. You can totally do that. But also something, if they're really popular, you can also do that and then go around and send an email and just say, hey, I absolutely love what you do, and I just want to take a minute and tell you, how much I enjoy all the guests that you have on your podcast. I actually just applied to be on it, and wherever they ask you to do it, and I would just love to chat with you more about it, right? So you're kind of doing that way and this way. So follow the rules, but then also come around and again make a connection.
what I'm also really feeling from you consistently is that as we are sharing and connecting, we're coming from service.
Absolutely.
Like, what are you looking for? How can I support your show? What would add value to your audience? Not even assuming.
No, assume nothing. And sometimes I have asked that question to people. I'm like, they aren't going to need anything from me. Like, even the fact that I'm saying this in my mind is ridiculous. Like I'll be like, they don't need me or anything I have. And they'll come back and they'll be like, she's actually a state senator here, and she was one of our cover people. And I asked that question. I was like, Felicia, if there's ever anything I can do, please just let me know. And she's like, Sarah, do you want to know what I would love? Is to come and have dinner and hang out on your back porch one night. I was like, done, right? And so now I am an ally of hers and she of mine, but like, we think like there's nothing she's ever going to want from me or need, but that's what she needed. And I can totally do that.
Can I do that?
You can do that.
Okay, I got to buy a ticket.
Yes, come.
So here's one from Kathy. Really great. Thank you for asking. I've been reaching out to clubs groups and no one replies.
Yes, because they usually are emailing the info at, right? It's not a person. And so I always think of it sort of like, where's Waldo, right? Like, find a connection to someone in that organization. That may either mean you show up there, and then at the end of the meeting, you go up and actually talk to the leader and make a friend, right? Or you look at your circle of connections and say, who do I know who's connected in that group? And then you would say, hey, because you already have a relationship with that person, you'd be like, hey, I've been dying to get a hold of someone in there. Do you know anyone? And because you have a relationship with them, of course they're going to tell you. And you then find the person.
Yeah.
Info at, no.
And I really loved your ideas about being personable and also how can I help you? And it might be a little slower, but it is long term. It is the way to go. And so instead of I'm reaching out because I need support, I'm reaching out because I am so interested in our community and we share a mission.
Yep. And I'm interested in you. I think you're an interesting human.
Wonderful. Hey, we got a really great comment from Stephanie. Important to build relationships with people you want to spend time with. Be your authentic self.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Again, I tell this to everybody, like if you talk to somebody and you're like, I feel like I should know that person, or because of my career or what I do, I should want to hang out. If you don't jive with that person, don't worry about it. Move on. Like, it's just not your spot. It's not your spot. It's not your place. And that's fine. Go find somebody else you do jive with.
I really feel like too, people do, and people jive on the personal, like the service and the heart, and people jive on shared mission.
Absolutely.
And I think that could be a really good lead as if you're leaving phone messages or it's like, I love what you're doing. We share a mission. We're all about supporting the community.
Yeah.
I want to know more about how I can support your business.
Yes.
I happen to be the owner of X, Y, and Z, but I'd love to chat with you and talk about how I can support. We can,
what you're doing.
I can support you.
Yeah, how I can support you, and you can even say, like, I'm sure there's something we could do together at some point. Like just set the intention that you want to help them and you're looking forward to working with them. Like, just assume that that's going to happen and use those words, and it will.
Yeah. This has been fabulous. What else do you want to share before we hit the end here?
I would just say go. Like, all of you guys, I know a lot of people are like, this sounds so boring and it sounds like it's not going to work. I'm like, just go do it. Do it and enjoy it and have fun. I've honestly, from this, I've met some of my best friends in life from doing these things. And especially as an adult, sometimes we kind of get stuck in the, my social circle doesn't change. Your social circle kind of doesn't change once you get to a certain age. And I will say this practice, and I've been doing it for about 10 years, has completely changed my circle in such a positive way. And not only have I found myself with business allies, but with personal allies as well. And it's a joy.
Stephanie says it truly does work. Thanks, Sarah. And this is our business consultant and coach who has built her business through relationships.
Yeah.
Not through automation, not through social media.
Yeah. And there's a place for that too. We're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but that is not step 1. That's step 5.
Sarah, what about people who are shy?
Well, think about how you like to connect with people. Like, what is comfortable for you? Pick. So some people, I have a client, and I'm not even kidding you, who has built a very successful business doing it all on Facebook Messenger, where she finds them and then she will pull them into, she'll meet them online and then she pulls them into Messenger and basically has these huge, long, very personal conversations with them because that's what's comfortable for her. Because she's a super introvert and she has no interest in talking to people. She gets panic attacks. And so that's what's comfortable for her. So there's no wrong way to do this. The idea is just to become connected with people. And we live in a world where we have so many different options now. So it's great.
I will say too, it feels so good to help other people. So you said go to events to meet interesting people and come with your ask, but also just be ready to serve others. And it does feel
I'm with the give. I'm always listening for gives. Like, what can I give that person? Can I promote something? Can I give them a referral? I'm just constantly always listening.
Nice. Well, this was a rock star performance.
Yay!
It was also
you guys are great.
Yeah, no, just really love just who you be. I want to share my screen because I want to, before we close out, and Sarah, you can think about your final words, but before we do that, I want to invite people to some opportunities where you can meet more business owners. So one of them is Wednesday, July 24th. There is a awesome opportunity if you're a freelancer. How to get started and succeed as a freelancer. That's happening in Reading. Also in Reading, every month there's the We Thrive, and that's women entrepreneurs. And back by popular demand, the conversation about getting your act together, what you need to know before you do any marketing. So this is like the nuts and bolts of really thinking through, who do I serve? So this applies to everything we talked about today, as well as internet marketing. The speaker is an internet marketing website pro. It all applies. Before you make connection calls and before you do all that, it's really good to kind of get clear on your business. And then our next webinar is on business growth with the greater good in mind. And it's a 360 exploration of social responsibility for small.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, and Tanya's amazing, very articulate. And what's fun is we're pulling together examples of local businesses that are doing good in the community, in volunteerism, for the environment, with their employees, building a culture that isn't just about revenue, but is actually about helping others and how that's helped them financially as well.
That's great.
Yep, it all kind of ties in, doesn't it? All right, Sarah, final words.
Final words. I would say be brave. Go. Do it. Like, make your list. Set those, be intentional with it, and set time in your schedule to actually make this happen. Every week, every month, it needs to be in there, and treat it as you do any other marketing activity that you do. It is that important. That is
really such a pleasure. You've been on the webinar before. It was last December. You were on a panel, and it was
that's right.
Yeah, it was really fun to just feature you and to just kind of go back to the basics. I think this is like backyard branding, right? This is the way it used to be, and it still works.
It still works. Works better than most things.
Nice. Thank you, Sarah.
You are absolutely well. Thank you, Joy. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you everyone who joined us. Thanks, Sarah and Joy. Great suggestions.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else, you can chat, evaluate the webinar, because us giving back to you is really a way that we can then go back to our funders and say, look at this, you know, people are growing businesses and supporting our local economy. Through business owners. You are the heroes and the heroines of our community up here in Northern California. So I'm always appreciative of everything people are doing. And sometimes it can be lonely to be an entrepreneur. So we're just super glad you showed up today. Thank you so much for the advice. Clara, thanks for being here. If you are interested in our services at the Women's Business Center, please reach out to e-jedi.org for a free discovery call and consultation. We are grant funded, so we can support you. Sarah, actually, can you chat your website also for the Los Peregrinas? Because I just want to say, join the email list. Oh my goodness. These women have incredible emails with advice and ideas on connection marketing. And so for anyone who wants to keep the flow going with Sarah, learn more about what she's up to, and also get those emails, I say yes. And one of your partners is an amazing copywriter. So I mean, she is fantastic. Well, and you are too, actually.
Oh, thank you.
You and Rebecca. So great to be on that e-list, and wonderful to connect with everyone again. We did it. Somehow we made it in the lunch hour.
We did
it. Thank you, everyone. Blessings, and we'll see you next month on our webinar, if not sooner. Bye-bye.